In the fascinating universe of human interactions, romantic attraction stands out as one of the most intriguing and often perplexing phenomena. Through the lens of Stoicism, a philosophy that values rational observation and a clear understanding of human nature, we can develop a refined ability to identify signs of romantic interest, even when the person emitting them isn't fully aware. Stoicism provides us with valuable tools to interpret reality without emotional distortions or inflated expectations, allowing for a more accurate reading of others' behaviors. Non-verbal communication accounts for approximately 93% of all our social interaction, constituting a vast field of signals that often escape conscious control. While we can carefully choose our words, our body frequently reveals our true intentions and feelings. The ancient Stoics already understood this fundamental truth. The body rarely lies, and the signals it emits can be more revealing than any verbal statement. When a woman develops romantic interest in someone, her body and behavior communicate this through various signals. One of the most evident indicators is the expression of genuine happiness in that person's presence. The Duchenne smile, the one involving the orbicularis oculi muscles, creating small wrinkles around the eyes, crow's feet, is practically impossible to fake. This type of sincere smile, accompanied by a special sparkle in her eyes, constitutes one of the first signs of authentic attraction. Similarly, when she laughs easily at your jokes, even the less than stellar ones, she is signaling a special, emotional connection. Stoic philosophy particularly values the observation of consistent patterns. An isolated signal can be misinterpreted, but a set of them, manifested regularly over time, rarely deceives. Reciprocity in interest is particularly revealing. When she replies to messages promptly, initiates conversations, shows genuine concern for your well-being, and actively seeks your company, she is establishing a pattern of behavior that strongly suggests romantic attraction. Body language offers valuable clues that transcend cultural and linguistic barriers. When a woman feels attracted, her body naturally orients itself towards the object of her interest. This behavior, studied extensively by anthropologists and evolutionary psychologists, has roots in our most primitive instincts. Maintaining prolonged eye contact, leaning in during conversations, and positioning her feet pointing towards you are instinctive signals that usually occur below the threshold of consciousness. Stoicism teaches us to observe these patterns with dispassionate attention, allowing us to perceive signals that many overlook. The quality and depth of conversations constitute another significant indicator. When a woman invests emotional and intellectual energy in dialogues that go beyond superficial topics, sharing vulnerabilities, dreams, and aspirations, she demonstrates a level of trust and connection that often accompanies romantic interest. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus emphasized the importance of authentic communication in human relationships. Conversations that flow naturally, where time seems to fly by, reveal a rare and precious synchronicity. Voluntary physical contact, even if subtle and seemingly casual, represents one of the most unequivocal signs of attraction. The Stoics recognized touch as a primary form of human communication, laden with meanings that transcend words. When she finds small opportunities to establish physical contact, touching your arm during a laugh, adjusting your tie or collar, or holding hugs longer than socially conventional, she is communicating, albeit unconsciously, her desire for greater physical and emotional closeness. Priority attention in social settings reveals much about a person's feelings. Marcus Aurelius observed that we dedicate our attention to what we truly value. When, even in groups, she constantly seeks your approval, directs comments specifically to you, or checks your reactions to jokes and stories, she is signaling that you occupy a privileged place in her mind. This behavior often occurs without full awareness, revealing genuine emotional priorities. Consistent availability for meetups and commitments is particularly revealing when analyzed through the Stoic lens. Seneca taught us that our choices reveal our true priorities, not what we say we value, but where we effectively invest our limited time. When a woman makes adjustments to her schedule, prioritizes your invitations over other options, or suggests alternatives when she cannot accept a specific plan, she demonstrates that she values the connection with you. The absence of evasive Excuses and the presence of proactive solutions to logistical obstacles are reliable signs of genuine interest. Quiet receptivity to subtle romantic advances constitutes a valuable indicator. Stoicism encourages us to be attentive to people's genuine reactions, observing not only what they say, but how their bodies and expressions respond. When she accepts your subtle moves without showing discomfort or pulling back, remaining relaxed and receptive, there is a strong indication of reciprocal feelings. This comfort in proximity can rarely be convincingly faked. The phenomenon of gaze triangulation, when she alternates her visual focus between your eyes and your mouth during close conversations, represents one of the most ancient and universal signs of romantic attraction. This behavior, studied extensively by researchers of human behavior, occurs largely unconsciously and is deeply rooted in our most basic instincts. The Stoics, with their emphasis on understanding human nature, would recognize this signal as a genuine manifestation of interest that transcends conscious control. Stoic philosophy also teaches us the importance of prudence in interpreting these signs. A genuine practitioner of Stoicism understands that even when identifying consistent patterns of interest, they must maintain the virtue of temperance and absolute respect for the other person. Attraction must be confirmed through clear and consented communication, never presumed solely based on interpretations, no matter how accurate they may seem. By developing this capacity for attentive observation and rational interpretation of romantic interest signals, you not only increase your chances of building genuine and reciprocal connections, but also become more aware of the signals you yourself emit. This heightened awareness leads to more authentic, transparent, and mutually satisfying relationships, perfectly aligned with the Stoic principles of virtue, clarity, and harmony in human relations. Deepening our exploration, another revealing sign of unconscious romantic interest is how she responds to your presence on social media. Modern Stoics would recognize that although digital platforms are recent, fundamental human behaviors remain consistent over time. When a woman regularly interacts with your content, liking your posts quickly, commenting frequently, or viewing your stories among the first people, she is demonstrating a level of attention that transcends simple social courtesy. Particularly revealing is when she reacts to old posts, indicating she has spent time exploring your profile, a behavior that would rarely occur without special interest. Mirroring constitutes another significant indicator confirmed by modern psychology, which would align with Stoic principles of observing human nature. When unconsciously attracted to someone, we tend to adopt their speech patterns, characteristic expressions, and even body posture. This phenomenon, known as mirroring, represents a form of unconscious synchronization that occurs naturally when we wish to establish a connection with another individual. Observe carefully. If she starts using your favorite expressions, adopts similar interests, or shows genuine curiosity about topics you value, she is exhibiting classic mirroring behavior, often indicative of romantic attraction. The Stoics particularly valued consistency between words and actions. A powerful sign of genuine romantic interest is when she makes references to future plans that naturally include you. These future projections might arise subtly, mentioning a restaurant she'd like to visit with you, a movie she wants to see together, or even social occasions where your presence is taken for granted. Seneca would remind us that our vision of the future reveals much about our true priorities. When someone consistently includes you in their visualization of the future, even in the near term, they are demonstrating that they consider you a valued presence in their life. Selective memory represents a fascinating phenomenon that the Stoics would understand as a natural manifestation of emotional priorities. Our mind tends to retain information related to what we truly value. When a woman remembers specific details from past conversations, preferences you mentioned casually, personal stories shared, or significant dates, she is demonstrating a level of attention we rarely dedicate to people for whom we don't feel special interest. This phenomenon occurs largely below the threshold of consciousness, making it a particularly reliable indicator of genuine attraction. Marcus Aurelius taught us the importance of observing how people act when they believe they are not being watched. A revealing, often unconscious sign is how she reacts upon noticing your presence unexpectedly. Small adjustments in posture, straightening her back, fixing her hair, rearranging her clothes, constitute instinctive preparations to appear more attractive. This preening behavior, studied extensively by evolutionary anthropologists, has roots in the oldest mechanisms of human attraction and is rarely under conscious control. Stoic philosophy invites us to observe not only what people do, but also what they don't do in our presence. The absence of certain behaviors can be as revealing as their presence. When a woman is romantically interested, you'll notice the absence of signs of impatience or discomfort even in prolonged conversations. She won't constantly check her watch or phone, won't show subtle signs of boredom like sighing or distant gazes, and won't look for excuses to end the interaction. This ability to remain fully present and engaged is a powerful indicator of genuine, emotional connection. Tone of voice and rhythm of speech are often overlooked but extremely revealing indicators. Epictetus observed that our deepest emotions inevitably color our verbal expressions. When a woman is attracted, her voice often acquires distinctive qualities, becoming slightly higher pitched or more melodious with more expressive tonal variations. This phenomenon, studied by modern psychoacoustics, has roots in our evolutionary mechanisms for signaling romantic receptivity and occurs largely without conscious control. Pupil dilation represents one of the most primitive and uncontrollable signs of attraction. The Stoics, with their emphasis on understanding natural processes, would recognize this phenomenon as a pure manifestation of human nature. When we are in the presence of someone who sparks our romantic interest, our pupils naturally dilate, a process controlled by the autonomic nervous system and practically impossible to simulate voluntarily. This subtle sign, visible only under adequate lighting and proximity, constitutes one of the most reliable indicators of genuine attraction precisely because it completely escapes conscious control. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of distinguishing between social courtesy and genuine interest. A particularly revealing sign is when she keeps the conversation active even after the initial purpose of the interaction has been fulfilled. In purely social or professional interactions, people tend to end communication once their practical goal is achieved. When romantic attraction exists, however, a natural tendency to prolong contact is observed, finding new topics of conversation, asking additional questions, or simply maintaining presence in your social sphere without apparent practical need. This behavior reveals a motivation that transcends simple social convenience. How she talks about you to others constitutes an extraordinarily revealing indicator. Although this sign is not directly observable, it often reaches you through mutual friends. When a woman is romantically interested, she tends to mention you positively in conversations where you are not present, discreetly asks others about you, and shows curiosity about your life. The Stoics would understand this as a genuine manifestation of emotional priority. We talk about what occupies our thoughts. If you consistently receive reports that she asks about you or mentions you positively in your absence, you are facing a powerful sign of romantic interest. The movement of progressive approach represents a fascinating behavioral pattern that the Stoics would recognize as a natural expression of the human desire for connection. When a woman is developing romantic interest, she often creates opportunities to gradually reduce the physical and emotional distance between you. This process usually occurs so subtly and gradually that it escapes the conscious perception of both the person performing it and the person receiving it. Over time, she will naturally find reasons to be physically closer, share more personal experiences, or establish shared rituals and habits that create a sense of growing intimacy. How she reacts to situations of romantic competition offers valuable insights. When a woman is unconsciously attracted, she shows subtle signs of discomfort or increased attention in the presence of potential rivals. This behavior might manifest as attempts to redirect your attention, slightly increased demonstrations of affection or interest, or changes in body language when other women interact with you. The Stoics would understand these reactions as natural manifestations of the human instinct to protect valued connections. Observe carefully. If she demonstrates a slightly amplified version of her usual behavior when other women are present, she is revealing feelings she possibly hasn't consciously recognized yet. Selective vulnerability constitutes another significant indicator. Epictetus observed that we reveal our true priorities through what we choose to protect or expose. When a woman selectively shares vulnerable aspects of her experience, fears, hopes, insecurities, or personal challenges, she is demonstrating a level of trust rarely granted to mere acquaintances. This behavior of selective emotional openness often precedes the conscious recognition of romantic feelings, representing an instinctive preparation for greater intimacy. Genuine curiosity about your inner life represents a particularly valuable sign. When she demonstrates authentic interest in your thoughts, values, dreams, and formative experiences, seeking to understand your motivations and perspectives, she is investing in a level of interpersonal knowledge that transcends casual relationships. The Stoics deeply valued genuine knowledge of the other, recognizing it as the foundation of meaningful connections. This curiosity about your essence, manifested through reflective questions and attentive listening, often indicates an attraction that may not be fully conscious. Her attitude towards your achievements and challenges reveals much about underlying feelings. When a woman genuinely celebrates your successes without competitiveness or envy, and offers authentic support during difficulties without judgment or distancing, she is demonstrating a form of emotional investment rarely present in purely social relationships. This ability to co-experience your journey, sincerely sharing joys and offering comforting presence during challenges, constitutes a powerful indicator of significant emotional connection that often precedes or accompanies romantic attraction. The Stoics teach us to observe changes in behavior across different contexts. Particularly revealing is how a woman behaves in digital versus in-person environments. When unconscious attraction exists, an interesting phenomenon is often observed. She might show greater boldness and initiative in one environment, usually digital, while maintaining a more reserved posture in the other. This discrepancy occurs because different contexts activate different levels of conscious self-monitoring. Observe carefully. If she demonstrates greater engagement, intimacy, or flirtation in text messages than in face-to-face interactions, she is possibly expressing feelings she hasn't yet fully integrated into her self-awareness. How she handles distance and absence offers valuable insights. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Though the original quote might be slightly different, the essence about desire revealed by obstacles fits. When a woman consistently maintains contact during periods of separation, finds pretext for communication that could easily wait for reunion, and shows genuine enthusiasm upon resuming in-person contact, she is revealing a significant emotional priority. Physical separation often acts as a natural test of romantic interest, revealing feelings that might remain hidden during routine interactions. The behavior of extended support represents another subtle but significant indicator. When a woman is romantically interested, she often extends her support beyond what is strictly necessary or socially expected, offering help in situations where it wouldn't be requested, anticipating needs before they are expressed, or demonstrating forms of care that transcend simple courtesy. This behavior of exceeding care has roots in our evolutionary mechanisms of bond formation and often occurs without full awareness of its romantic implications. Stoic philosophy invites us to observe how people handle small disappointments in social interactions. A revealing sign of romantic interest is the ability to maintain positive engagement even after minor frustrations. When plans change, expectations aren't fully met, or minor misunderstandings occur. When genuine attraction exists, a notable resilience in the quality of interaction is observed, with quick recovery after potentially uncomfortable moments. This capacity for preserving the bond through challenges is rarely present in purely social or professional relationships. The phenomenon of intensified response constitutes another valuable indicator. When romantically attracted, a woman often demonstrates slightly amplified emotional reactions to your expressions of appreciation, compliments, or attention. This subtle increase in emotional responsiveness, manifested through more evident facial expressions, more emphatic gratitude, or more visible joy, occurs largely below the threshold of consciousness making it a particularly reliable sign precisely because it escapes deliberate control. The pattern of asynchronous communication reveals much about emotional priorities. Seneca valued conscious attention as an expression of genuine respect. When a woman consistently responds to your messages with promptness, adequate elaboration, and authentic engagement, even at inconvenient times or during other activities, she is demonstrating a prioritization we rarely dedicate to people for whom we don't feel special interest. This behavior of communicative prioritization often occurs before the conscious recognition of romantic feelings. How she responds to your compliments constitutes a particularly revealing indicator. When romantic attraction exists, a distinctive response to demonstrations of appreciation is observed, a unique combination of evident pleasure and characteristic slight shyness. This pattern of valued reception, manifested through genuine smiles, a slight blush, momentarily intensified eye contact, followed by a brief look away, differs substantially from the typical response to compliments from people one is not attracted to. The Stoics would recognize this behavior as a natural expression of the vulnerability that accompanies genuine romantic interest. Consistency over time represents possibly the most valuable indicator of all. The Stoics emphasized that true character is revealed not in isolated moments, but in sustained patterns. When a woman maintains consistent levels of engagement, interest, and emotional investment over weeks or months, without dramatic fluctuations based on convenience or circumstance, she is demonstrating a type of prioritization rarely granted to fleeting or superficial relationships. This stability of investment often indicates genuine romantic feelings, even when not yet fully consciously recognized. Stoic philosophy teaches us to value actions over words. Particularly revealing is when a woman performs small acts of consideration that require attention, effort, or planning, remembering preferences you mentioned casually, noticing when you're facing difficulties before they are verbalized, or creating experiences specifically aligned with your interests. These micro acts of consideration rarely occur without significant emotional investment and often precede the conscious recognition of romantic feelings. The phenomenon of perceptual amplification constitutes another fascinating indicator. When romantically attracted, we tend to notice and value details about the other person that would normally escape our attention. If she consistently observes and comments on small changes in your appearance, mood, or behavior, a new shirt, a different haircut, subtle shifts in your energy or disposition, she is demonstrating a level of perceptual attention rarely dedicated to mere acquaintances. This hyper-perception of the other often occurs before the conscious recognition of romantic feelings. How she navigates romantically ambiguous topics offers valuable insights. When attraction is not fully conscious, an interesting pattern is often observed during discussions about relationships, dating, or romantic experiences. A combination of heightened curiosity, intensified attention, and characteristic slight discomfort. This response of romantic ambivalence, manifested through more elaborate questions, slightly altered body language, or subtle changes in tone of voice, differs substantially from typical engagement with neutral or purely social topics. The Stoics valued authenticity above all. A particularly significant indicator is when she demonstrates progressively more authentic versions of herself in your presence, sharing genuine opinions even when potentially controversial, expressing emotions without excessive filters, or revealing aspects of her personality, normally reserved for intimate relationships. This process of gradual self-disclosure rarely occurs without an underlying feeling of emotional safety and significant personal connection. How she integrates you into her social circles constitutes another revealing sign. When a woman is developing romantic feelings, she often seeks in a natural and progressive way to introduce you to important people in her life, close friends, trusted family members, or significant mentors. This behavior of social integration represents an instinctive way of testing compatibility and seeking external validation for emerging feelings, often occurring before these feelings are fully consciously recognized. Stoic philosophy teaches us that our true priorities are revealed not only in what we do but also in what we choose to preserve and protect. Particularly revealing is when she keeps or values objects, messages, or memories associated with shared experiences, saving small gifts or items of sentimental value, preserving significant digital conversations, or demonstrating detailed knowledge of shared moments from the past. This behavior of sentimental preservation rarely occurs without significant emotional investment. The pattern of amplified reciprocity constitutes another valuable indicator. When romantic attraction exists, a tendency to return gestures of consideration or generosity in a slightly intensified manner is often observed, responding to small kindnesses with more elaborate expressions of gratitude, or reciprocating attention and care on a slightly larger scale than originally offered. This positive escalation of reciprocity differs substantially from the balanced exchanges characteristic of purely social or professional relationships. How she manages conflicts or differences reveals much about underlying feelings. When a woman is romantically interested, she demonstrates a remarkable capacity for constructive navigation through disagreements, actively seeking to understand your perspective, avoiding unnecessary escalations, and consistently orienting towards mutually satisfactory resolutions. This approach of relational preservation during conflicts differs substantially from typical strategies employed in purely social or professional contexts. Epictetus taught us that a person's true nature is revealed not in moments of calm and comfort, but in challenges and difficulties. Particularly revealing is how a woman responds when you show authentic vulnerability or imperfection, sharing insecurities, making mistakes, or revealing less polished aspects of your personality. When genuine attraction exists, a characteristic response of compassionate acceptance is observed, a unique combination of empathetic understanding, absence of judgment, and often a reciprocity of openness that strengthens, rather than diminishes, the connection. The phenomenon of attentional prioritization constitutes a particularly revealing indicator. The Stoics recognized that our attention is rarely distributed equally, naturally gravitating towards what we truly value. When a woman consistently prioritizes you in contexts of divided attention, maintaining significant engagement with you even in stimulating social environments, interrupting other activities to respond to your communications, or demonstrating a superior ability to recall details of your interactions compared to other social relationships, she is revealing an attentional hierarchy that often precedes the conscious recognition of romantic feelings. Stoic philosophy invites us to observe how people respond to opportunities to develop greater intimacy. A particularly valuable sign is receptivity to moments of relational escalation, occasions that naturally allow for deepening interpersonal connection. When a woman consistently accepts and often facilitates opportunities for deeper conversations, more meaningful shared experiences, or more substantial forms of mutual support, she is demonstrating an orientation towards relational growth, characteristic of connections with romantic potential. Behavior in situations of forced choice offers valuable insights. Marcus Aurelius observed that our true priorities are revealed when limited resources, time, energy, opportunities, require allocative decisions. When a woman consistently prioritizes you in situations requiring a choice, dedicating scarce time to be with you instead of other valued activities, sharing limited attention or resources, or rearranging commitments to accommodate opportunities for connection, she is revealing preferences that often precede the conscious recognition of romantic feelings. How she responds to changes in your availability or engagement constitutes another significant indicator. When genuine attraction exists, a characteristic sensitivity to alterations in your usual interaction patterns is observed, showing curiosity or concern when you are less communicative than usual, evident joy when you resume previous levels of engagement, or subtle adjustments in her own behavior to maintain the quality of the connection. This relational responsiveness differs substantially from the relative indifference characteristic of purely social or professional relationships. The Stoics emphasized the importance of choices over circumstances. Particularly revealing is when a woman consistently creates or seizes opportunities to develop significant connection, suggesting activities that favor deep conversations, creating contexts of relative privacy even in broader social settings, or establishing shared routines and rituals that naturally promote growing emotional intimacy. This behavior of relational architecture rarely occurs without significant investment in the specific connection. Openness to mutual vulnerability constitutes possibly the deepest indicator of romantic potential. When a woman not only shares vulnerable aspects of her own experience, but also creates safe spaces for your own expression of vulnerability, demonstrating genuine curiosity about your fears and hopes, offering non-judgmental understanding in the face of personal revelations, or explicitly validating your more complex emotional experiences, she is manifesting an orientation towards authentic intimacy that often accompanies or precedes genuine romantic feelings. The most important thing to understand, through the Stoic lens, is that all these signs gain meaning not when observed in isolation, but when they form consistent patterns over time. A bright smile, an enthusiastic message, or a casual touch can occur for various reasons, but when multiple indicators manifest repeatedly in different contexts, a pattern emerges that rarely deceives. The sensitivity to perceive these patterns, combined with Stoic prudence in interpretation and response, allows one to navigate the complex territory of romantic attraction with wisdom, respect, and authenticity. By developing this capacity for attentive observation, you not only increase your chances of recognizing genuine romantic interest, but also cultivate a deeper understanding of human nature in general. This knowledge, grounded in the timeless principles of Stoicism, transcends the romantic domain, enriching all your social interactions with greater clarity, empathy, and wisdom. As Marcus Aurelius taught, it is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them. Paraphrased. By refining your perception of the subtle signs of romantic interest, you simultaneously cultivate the Stoic virtue of perceptual clarity that enriches your entire relational experience. This journey of observation and understanding invites us to an attitude that is simultaneously attentive and detached, fully aware of the signs present, yet free from the need to interpret every gesture as definitive confirmation of romantic interest. This posture, deeply aligned with Stoic teachings, allows us to navigate the fascinating territory of human attraction with genuine curiosity, absolute respect, and unwavering authenticity. As Epictetus reminds us, do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy.